New York Giants Week 4 preview. Giants coming off their first win of the season, a big win for them. Redskins coming off a pretty bad Monday night loss against the Chicago Bears. So we'll have the injury report, we'll have the notes for each team, I'll have a game prediction and some questions from people who ask questions as well. I won't get to every question, but I'll try to get to like 8 to 10. I can't, sit here and answer like 20 questions. I'm sorry. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Mike_NYY. If you want me to follow you back, let me know, and I will do so. I believe that's it. So first, let's get into the injury report. So, for the injury report, I have guys that did not practice on Thursday. If they had a light practice or a full practice, I did not put them on here because I'm assuming they're going to play, but who knows, in the NFL, anything could happen. So, we start for the Giants. Wide receiver Russell Shepard, who does have a foot injury, was placed in IR today, so he won't be back for a while. I think he has to be out like at least 8 weeks or something like that. I forget how the IR works exactly, but we might see him very late in the season. Tay Davis, the linebacker, his second-string linebacker, suffered a concussion. He was starting some of the game because the guy in front of him, Alec Ogletree, went down with a hamstring injury. I doubt he plays. I'm sure we'll be down 2 linebackers in this game. Olsen Pierre has a knee injury who did not practice on Thursday. I don't remember when he got injured, but apparently he's hurt right now, so we'll see if he plays. I'm not sure about that one. We know Saquon Barkley is not going to play this game. He has a high ankle sprain. He'll be out 4 to 8 weeks. Looks like he's going to avoid the IR, so that's good news for him and good news for Giant fans, obviously. We go to the Redskins side. Jordan Reed with a concussion. That man has had so many concussions in his career. I don't know why he's still playing, but hey, it's not my life, it's his. He has not played a game yet this year. I believe he suffered that concussion in practice or preseason or something, but he has not played in the regular season yet. And as a Giants fan, I'm glad we get to avoid him because A, the Giants can't cover tight ends, and B, he's a very talented tight end, so it's good news for us. Another good news here, so we have 2 offensive linemen possibly missing the game here. Brandon Sheriff, who's a really good guard, was a top 10 pick in the Eric Flowers draft. I remember I kind of wanted him, but Redskins were in front of us. He has an ankle injury, and their starting center, Chase Rollier, I don't know how to pronounce his name, to be honest with you. Redskins fans can correct me on that one. Chase Rollier, I don't know, but he has a knee injury. He's out. He is their starting center, so that's a big loss. So they might have 2 down offensive linemen for this game. So that's good news for the Giants and their pass rush and their ability to stop the running backs on Washington. So good for the Giants. Losing Saquon Barkley obviously sucks. Hopefully he comes back healthy at some point this year. But that's it. So let's get into I guess we'll start with the Redskins notes. On to the Redskins notes. So I think they'll be hungry. If you're a Giants fan and expect the Giants to come out and win this game by 20, 30 points, I'm not that guy. I'm not expecting it. I think they'll put up a very good fight in this one. The offensive line is ranked 20th by Pro Football Focus. They might be down 2 starters and arguably their best offensive lineman. Trent Williams is already out. He hasn't played yet this year, obviously, their left tackle. But Brandon Sheriff being out and their starting center is pretty big as well. So maybe we'll see what happens with the injury report for the Redskins. Landon Collins and Eric Flowers make their return to play the Giants. So, of course, they were with the Giants for a while, those two. I forget if they're in the same draft class. I feel like Collins was a year later, but I'm not positive. They might have been in the same draft class. I forget, honestly. I want to say Flowers was a year before, though. So Flowers was a first-round pick. Had a decent rookie year with the Giants, but just after that, it just got worse and worse, and his tenure in New York did not go so well. Landon Collins had 1 really good season for the Giants. Outside of that, he had some problems in coverage, obviously. He did have some injuries as well, so, he wants to play the Giants. He has this game marked on his calendar. I'm sure he's up for the task, and we'll see how he plays on Sunday. Case Keenum or Dwayne Haskins. So right now it looks like Case Keenum is going to start the game. Jay Gruden said he wants to play Case Keenum. It's kind of surprising to some people that Dwayne Haskins is not starting this game. I had some questions about it, so I'll get more into it later, but it seems like right now Case Keenum is the starter on Sunday. They have 48 rushing yards per game, which is 30th in the NFL. Of course, they had Darius Geis. He got injured after week 1. I like Geis a lot out of LSU. I liked him in college, but unfortunately he has not been able to stay healthy in the NFL so far, so I wish him the best, and hopefully he recovers nicely. Adrian Peterson is their starting running back right now, and he has not looked that good yet so far. He had a good year last year, had over 1,000 yards, but this year has not looked great. They have Chris Thompson as well, who's more of a receiving back, but he's a pest. I have it written down. He's definitely the type of guy that's on on third and shorts, third and mediums, he will definitely beat you, and we'll see if the Giants linebackers can guard him. I doubt it, but we'll see. Terry McLaurin and Paul Richardson. We know McLaurin, if you're an average NFL fan, you probably know by now. Terry McLaurin's had a great start to his NFL career in his first 3 games. He scored a touchdown in each game. Had a nice game against the Bears last week, which is a big task, and he passed that one as well. Paul Richardson was in Seattle for many years, had some big plays with Russell Wilson, signed a big contract in Washington. He's a big play guy. I mean, he's a tall receiver. He can make big plays, so you got to watch out for him. Can they cover Vernon Davis? The Giants have many problems covering tight ends. We all know that. They had problems week 1. They had problems week 3 as well with O.J. Howard. And then we had Blake Jarwin and Jason Witten week 1. So maybe Vernon Davis has a nice game in this one. The Giants are down 2 linebackers in this game. The Redskins are 26th in total defense. So the Giants might have some success on offense in this game. They are surrendering 142 rushing yards per game. That is a lot. And, having Saquon Barkley would have been great in this game. But maybe Wayne Gallman gets off to a good start as his first start in the NFL, so we'll see. They are giving up 31.3 points per game, which is exactly the same amount of points per game given up by the New York Giants. It's kind of surprising that the exact decimal point is the same, but that's just the way it is. That's funny how sports work. They are both tied for 31st in the NFL, so it might be a lot of points scored in this game. We'll see. Their secondary gives up a lot of big plays. I recall Deshaun Jackson had 2 long touchdowns week 1. Devin Smith had a long touchdown week 2. Who'd they play week 3? Oh, the Bears. So Taylor Gabriel had a big play at one point. I'm sure Allen Robinson had a couple long catches in there as well. So they are susceptible to giving up big plays. And Daniel Jones, we saw week 1, or not week 1, but last week, he takes shots down the field. So we'll see if the Giants can have some big plays in this one. And I think that's it for the Redskins notes. So now on to the Giants notes. So, of course, the main question is, does Daniel Jones repeat? Does he repeat that great performance we saw in Tampa? I think he has a good chance this week. I think the big test for Daniel Jones is next week and the week after. Of course, he's going to play the Vikings at home and then Thursday night in New England. Those are the big tests. I think, once again, Daniel Jones will have a very nice game in this one. I don't know if he'll be as good as he was in Tampa, but I expect a good performance from him nonetheless. Injuries at inside linebacker. So now they're down to Ryan Conley, David Mayo, who they signed like a month ago, and Nate Stupar, who they just brought back after they released him. So they are down Alec Ogletree. They are down. I saw B.J. Goodson on the Packers tonight. Of course, they let him go. They traded him. And, of course, who's the other guy? Oh, Tay Davis. So Tay Davis is down as well. So that's 3 linebackers they had just a month ago that are not with this team anymore due to injury or one being traded. So we'll see if the Giants can keep up at inside linebacker with limited amount of players, but we'll see what they do there. Can the defense build in the second half in Tampa Bay? So if you watch the second half defense against Tampa Bay, they look much better. It's actually funny how, Alec Ogletree goes out of the game and then all of a sudden the Giants defense gets better. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's a correlation, but it could be. You guys know I'm not an Alec Ogletree fan. I think he's overpaid as hell, but is what it is. And, part of it could be honestly because, they had 28 points at halftime, the Buccaneers, and the Bills had a lead at halftime that was pretty big as well. So, maybe these teams, they get a little complacent and don't really put their foot on the pedal as much. You know what I mean? Maybe they kind of let up a bit and it makes the Giants defense look better. But I don't get why the Giants defense can't play well in the first half. We see it in the second half in back-to-back weeks. The Bills game in the second half, they look better. And then the Buccaneers second half, they look better on defense as well. So why can't they do it in the first half? I just want to see it, please. They had 7 sacks in the last 2 games. People talk about the pass rush being an issue. I thought it's looked a lot better these last 2 weeks, and if they can sustain that or even get a little better, I think they'll be fine in pass rushing this year. They were 6 for 13 on third down on Sunday. The first 2 games with Eli Manning, the third down conversion rate was just horrible. It was literally laughable, but 6 for 13 is pretty darn good, so a nice job by Daniel Jones in his first start converting on third down. He made some plays with his legs as well. He had a third down pickup using his legs, which we never see. How does Wayne Gallman look? So I talked about before, the Redskins do give up a lot of rushing yards, and I think Wayne Gallman's going to have himself a nice game in this one. I'm not expecting 150 yards, but I think he can average over 4 yards a carry. They'll probably use him in the passing game as well. So we'll see. I think Wayne Gallman's in a good spot, though. I think he'll be fine this game. It's the next 2 games that concern me, and if they can get the running game going in that. Good day for the passing attack. So talked about before the Redskins secondary. I mean, Landon Collins we know can't cover. Josh Norman just is not the same guy he used to be, honestly. I mean, he does have the name tag to him, but like he still has not played well at all this year. He's given up like the most touchdowns by a cornerback this year so far, apparently. So he's had a rough start, and I think Daniel Jones will exploit them and look really good in this game. So I think the passing attack will have a nice day for the Giants. They get Cody Latimer back from injury as well. Offensive line rebound. So the Giants had a rough week in Tampa for the offensive line, specifically their left tackle Nate Solder. He needs to play better. Washington ranks 26th in sack percentage, so they're having a tough time getting to the quarterback this year. So I think the Giants offensive line bounces back nicely in this game. Janoris Jenkins against Terry McLaurin or Paul Richardson. I mean, look, I have little confidence in Janoris Jenkins at this point. I have more confidence than DeAndre Baker at this point. That's how bad he was. And for me to say I have more confidence in a rookie than a guy we're paying a lot of money to and has been around for a long time, it's kind of sad to say that. But Janoris Jenkins played an absolutely terrible game on Sunday. We all know that. I mean, some Giants fans are like, cut Janoris Jenkins. Like, we're not cutting him. Like, calm down there. We're not cutting Janoris Jenkins. We're not going to play with like 4 rookies in the secondary. That's just not going to happen. So please stop with that. He needs to play better. He knows it, and hopefully he does. More passing plays, question mark. So yeah, it's possible. I think Pat Shermer might run some more passing plays than he might when Saquon Barkley's on the field. I feel like when Saquon's on the field, you're kind of obligated in a way to give him carries. It's kind of like when you have a star receiver, like when you have Odell Beckham. It's like you feed him passes. Same thing with Saquon Barkley. When you have a guy that talented, you feed him the ball. I mean, that's just what you do. You draft him high. You want to give him as many carries as he can handle. So maybe they have more passing plays in this game. It would not shock me. Can B.J. Hill and Dalvin Tomlinson break out? So B.J. Hill's been all right this year. He looked better last game, but he hasn't really had a breakout game yet. Same with Dalvin Tomlinson, and we'll see what those guys can do. So I hope they have a breakout game. We saw breakout games from a lot of guys last week, whether it was O'Shane Ximines, Lorenzo Carter, DeAndre Baker. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Dexter Lawrence looked great last week. So, maybe these two guys can have breakout weeks as well. So we'll see. That's it for the Giants notes, and now I'll get on to where are we going next? I think prediction time. So I'll have my score prediction for this game. Let's get into that. So, my final score prediction is 27-24 Giants. This is the first time I'm picking the Giants to win a game this year. Who knows if it'll happen or not? I think it'll be a very close one. I could see the Redskins winning by 3 as well. It would not surprise me. I feel like we're sleeping on the Redskins a bit too much, people. I know a lot of Giants fans are already expecting 2-2. But honestly, this is a big game for the Giants. They have to win this one, I would say, because, if they lose this one and go 1-3, you then play the Vikings, you probably go 1-4, and then you play the New England Patriots and you go 1-5. No one wants 1-5. Maybe the Giants go 2-4, but who cares? I mean, we got to win this game. I feel like this is a big one. You're at home. It's Daniel Jones' first home start. I think they'll be up for it. I think the offense plays well in this one. I think the defense will look a little better. They'll probably look the best they have all year. As I said before, they just need to play better in the first half. That's the big thing. Put the two halves together. They played well in the second half of the last 2 games. Just do it in the first half. I just don't know why they're not up for the task in the first half, but hopefully that changes this week. This Redskins offense, it's not complete crap, but it doesn't have the firepower that Dallas has, that obviously the Buccaneers have, and even the Bills. I mean, Josh Allen, I think, is just I don't want to call him a terrific quarterback because he does make some mistakes, but against the Giants, he looked really good. So I do think Josh Allen's a little better than Case Keenum right now, if I'm being honest. So I think the Giants defense will have their best game of the season. So look, anything could happen, but if I had to give out a final score prediction, I'm going 27-24 Giants. Alright, so on to the questions. There were some duplicates, and obviously I told you guys last video, I just, I don't really have the time to answer all the questions. So I appreciate all of you who do answer questions, but I'll try to do like probably 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 or something like that. So we'll see what we get to. First one is, what kind of player do you think Slayton is going to turn into? So the wide receiver, Darius Slayton. I like this question a lot. I think it's a good one. Of course, when there's a fast player, everyone's first answer is Deshaun Jackson. Like, that's everyone's first answer, and it's kind of annoying because like not every fast player is going to be Deshaun Jackson. I think he has a chance to be like a Ted Ginn, maybe a John Brown. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be as good as John Brown, obviously, but like a player like that, a guy who has really good speed, can beat you downfield, but at the same time, Darius Slayton has some potential in route running. I think, he's a better route runner than people give him credit for. He'll have to work on it, obviously. The thing that just goes against him are the drops. Of course, Ted Ginn had an issue with drops early in his career, but he turned into a good player, so I think Ted Ginn's a good comparison for Darius Slayton. I obviously hope he has a higher ceiling ceiling than that, but we'll see. But still, Ted Ginn's been around for a while. He's a useful player. The Giants have a field stretcher, and we saw it in his first career game. He had a big catch in that one, so I like Darius Slayton. We'll see what kind of ceiling he has, but I don't think John Brown or Ted Ginn Jr. is that bad of a comparison. If you guys have a good comparison for him, let me know in the comments as well. Alright, so this one had the most likes, so I'm assuming you guys want this one answered. Can the defense figure it out against the Redskins? What about the running game without Saquon Barkley? Last but not least, will Danny Dimes keep it up and perform similarly, I can't even say that word, to what he did against the Buccaneers? So the first one, can the defense figure it out? Yeah, I think they can. I don't think it'll be an excellent performance on defense. I do have them giving up 24 points, which isn't great, but at the same time, you can make some mistakes against the Redskins. They don't have like these ridiculous receivers like the Buccaneers do, or even the Cowboys in a way, and they don't have a crazy elusive and athletic quarterback like Josh Allen in the Bills case. So I think this is their softest opponent in terms of offensive talent, and they don't have two of their offensive linemen, three if you include Trent Williams. So yeah, I think their defense could play better in this game. I think the pass rush is going to be there, and we'll see what the secondary does. Of course, it's a big question, but I just want James Bradshire to get these guys playing well in the first half, of course. On to Wayne Gallman. So the Giants called up John Hilliman. They have Elijah Penny as well, who's like they're considered their fullback, but whatever, they consider him a running back too. So the Giants didn't sign anybody, which is kind of weird. I think someone asked a question about that later, so I'll get into it later. And I think Wayne Gallman's going to be fine for this game. As I said, I got into that before. It just concerns me about the later games. The Patriots won, the Vikings won. They have very tough defenses, especially the Vikings. The run defense, it's very good, so we'll see what he does against them. It just comes down to the offensive line. I mean, you guys know, if you've been with me from the beginning, you guys know I didn't want a running back second overall because I feel like it's a replaceable position. A lot of it depends on scheme and your offensive line. So basically, if the Giants' offensive line plays very well, I think Wayne Gallman's going to just put up some good results. And we saw it last year. C.J. Anderson fills in for Todd Gurley, has some amazing games. We saw Damian Williams fill in for Kareem Hunt, has some amazing games. Running back is a position that a guy can just step in and have some great games. And it would not shock me if Wayne Gallman does the same thing here. Can Danny Dimes keep it up against the Redskins, do the same thing he did against the Buccaneers? Yeah, I think he can. I talked about it. The secondary for the Redskins doesn't really intimidate me too much. The one thing that scares me, though, is that now there's film on Daniel Jones for an entire game. We saw some stuff in the preseason, but teams are not really playing their best defense in the preseason. Now they have tape on him. What kind of stuff do they expose with Daniel Jones? I have no idea. We'll see what kind of adjustments the Redskins make. So yeah, if he struggles in this game, I'm not going to be shocked about it, but I personally expect Daniel Jones to be fine in this game. He's looked great in every time he's played, so I think he'll be fine in this one. As I said, it's the next two games that concern me about Daniel Jones. Next, will the pass rush be better? I thought they improved against Tampa. So yeah, they did look better against Tampa. I think they'll be fine this game. I think they'll get better because if the Redskins are missing their left tackle, they have Eric Flowers, they might be missing Brendan Sheriff in their starting center. Very good news for the offensive line. I mean, Case Keenum does have the ability to get out of some tough situations, but he's not like Josh Allen, as I said before. He's not Dak Prescott. So I think the Giants, even Jameis Winston's better at eluding pass rushers than him. So yeah, I think the Giants have a good chance to get sacks. I would set the over-under at 2.5 sacks, and I would probably take the over. I think they get the 3 or 4 sacks in this game. Hopefully Marcus Golden keeps it up. O'Shane Ximines, I watched some videos on Twitter of him. He had some amazing pass rush moves last game, and I think he's just going to get better and better as the year goes on. Very excited for his future. Dexter Lawrence, he had a sack last game as well. He created a fumble. Olsen Pierre might be out. I showed you guys in my film review, R.J. McIntosh had a nice rush at one point. So yeah, the Giants have guys that are getting to the quarterback. Can they do it more consistently? We'll see. But yeah, it's a good question. I think they will, especially with the Redskins offensive line being banged up in this game. Next question, can Sherman expose Keenum? He made Keenum really great with the Vikings, and Sherman knows him the best. Also, keep up the great work. Your videos are incredible. I don't know about incredible. They're all right, I guess, but I appreciate the kind words anyway. So yeah, of course, of any coach that knows Case Keenum, I would say, yeah, it's probably Pat Shurmur. Of course, they worked together in 2017, where Case Keenum had his great season, and he's still living off that season, making a lot of money doing so. So, he has a lot to thank Pat Shurmur for. And honestly, it was a match made in heaven. Those two. He was the perfect quarterback for Pat Shurmur's system. We saw it with Eli Manning. Eli Manning was not capable really of running Pat Shurmur's system. He wasn't really the quarterback that Pat Shurmur wanted. You can tell Pat Shurmur was pushing for Daniel Jones. I think Pat Shurmur wanted Daniel Jones to start week 1 if it was up to him, but unfortunately it was up, even higher than him. John Mara, Dave Gettleman, they wanted Eli Manning to start the whole, in week 1 and week 2, but I think Pat Shurmur wanted Daniel Jones to be his guy the whole time. I'm getting off track anyway. So, yeah, I think, it does, I don't think it'll impact the game too much because he's working on his offense and he'll give James Bettcher some tips, I'm sure. But really, Pat Shurmur's not too involved with the whole defense thing. It is up to James Bettcher with play calling and stuff like that. But I think Pat Shurmur will have some advice and tell James Bettcher what his tendencies are and what he likes to do and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. I think that's a interesting note, though. So that's a nice observation there. Next question, what do you think the Giants will do to address the running back situation while Saquon is out? Look to the practice squad, make a trade, pick up a free agent. So, yeah, the Giants did bring in some guys to work out. I believe they had Zach Zenner, who was with the Lions for a couple of years. They had Benny Cunningham, who was with the Bears, the Rams, and I feel like there was another team in there, but I forget. And who's the other guy? Fozzie Whitaker, who was with the Panthers, and Dave Gettleman was his GM in Carolina. So, of course, they have to bring in a Carolina guy. So, I hope it's not Fozzie Whitaker. I believe that guy brings nothing to the table. He's just an average receiving back at best. So, Benny Cunningham's on the table. Zach Zenner's on the table. I thought they would bring in C.J. Anderson, but I haven't heard anything about it yet, so I'm kind of surprised. Some people talk about Jay Ajayi. I don't see that. Jay Ajayi, he must have some kind of injury thing going on. He's a pretty good running back. Does have a bit of an attitude history because of the whole demanding a trade and not liking Adam Gase. It could be Adam Gase's fault, who knows, but still, it's not a good look for him. He might be injured still. So yeah, I think it wouldn't shock me if they brought in a free agent. I think that's the way they go about it. I don't see the Giants trading or giving up any assets for a running back because it is a temporary situation. But we'll see. If Wayne Gallman can handle the load and look like a really good running back this week, they might hold off on it. But if he struggles this week and goes for 2 yards a carry and they give him 15 carries and he gets 31 yards, they might have to go to the free agent block, whatever you want to call it. So, there are some guys out there. I like Zach Zenner. I like Benny Cunningham. He's a good pass catcher. So, we'll see. I don't know what they're going to do exactly. There are some interesting names, but I just hope it's not Fozzie Whitaker. I feel like they'd bring in Whitaker, Cameron Artis-Payne. Who's the guy from Arizona? Andre Ellington. I feel like they would go with a Panther or Cardinals guy. I hope not, but we'll see what they do. Would not shock me if they did that, though. Next question, top players for each team to give extra attention to, top players to guard/avoid, as well as the biggest sleepers or potential breakout players on each team. All right, so a lot of stuff to dissect here. All right, so I think the sleeper players, I would say, for the Giants offense, he's not really a sleeper. We all know him at this point, but Darius Slayton, I would say, because the Redskins, as I said, do give up big plays. Darius Slayton is our big play receiver, and that's pretty much the guy I'm going with. So if Darius Slayton catches a 60-yard touchdown in this game, it would not surprise me. That's what the Redskins have been doing on defense this year. A sleeper on their team, I think I would say slot wide receiver Trey Quinn. He's a guy who's been getting some targets this year. He's had, I think, at least 7 targets in every game. The Giants, based off their past history, I think back to Cole Beasley, have a lot of trouble with white slot receivers, and he's just the same guy as Cole Beasley basically. So I feel like he'll he'll definitely have them struggling on defense. I did mention Vernon Davis because he's a tight end. Obviously, the Giants can't cover tight ends. Paul Richardson makes big plays. I brought up Chris Thompson as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of sleepers on this team for the Redskins. I feel like we all know Terry McLaurin, so I really can't talk about him much. But, Trey Quinn's my biggest guy to watch out for. Grant Hanley had a rough week last week. He is our slot corner. We'll see if he can bounce back and guard Trey Quinn nicely. But other matchups, I don't know who Nate Solder's going against. If it's Ryan Kerrigan, then that's not good. So, I hope it's not him. What else do we have? Sterling Shepard and Josh Norman, Evan Engram and Landon Collins. That's a good one. The Giants definitely win that matchup. There were actually a few questions about Landon Collins and Evan Engram, and one of them was kind of sarcastic. It was will Landon Collins have a job after Evan Engram exploits him this week or something like that? So yeah, Evan Engram could have a really big game in this one. That's a tough matchup for Landon Collins. So yeah, that's just a few matchups to think of. I really didn't write it down or anything before that, so hopefully that covers everything. But yeah, I would say the sleeper on the Redskins, though, I'm going to have to say Trey Quinn. Next question, more about the Redskins land the Giants, but I'd like to know your take on the Keenum, Haskins, McCoy situation and why it seems as though the Redskins are hesitant to play Dwayne Haskins. So yeah, it's a good question. I talked about this before. Someone asked about it. So Colt McCoy, I feel like, is not part of the equation. He did make some starts last year because of all the injuries. I mean, he looked all right, but I really don't think he's part of the equation here. I personally think the reason they're going with Case Keenum is because he hasn't been that bad this year. I know Monday night was rough. I mean, he did play the Chicago defense, but the first 2 games of the season, so I looked at his stats here. First week, he went 30 of 44, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns. They put up 27 points offensively. That's a good game for a quarterback right there. He was not turning the ball over, and he threw for 3 touchdowns in that one. Next game against Dallas, he was 26 of 37, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. Once again, no interceptions. So yeah, once again, a really good game. So he was, at that point in the season, he had 5 touchdowns, no interceptions coming into the Chicago game. And to bench a guy over 1 bad game seems like a lot. I mean, if they played Dwayne Haskins, it would not shock me. I kind of was expecting Dwayne Haskins to start this game, but I don't know. I mean, they just want to be very slow with him, obviously. They feel that his development might take a little longer than some other quarterbacks. Daniel Jones was more NFL ready than Dwayne Haskins at this point. I think most of us can see that based off the preseason. So, I mean, it makes sense in that regard. But if Case Keenum has a few more bad games in a row, I think at that point you kind of just have to do it. I'm sure Redskins fans want to see Dwayne Haskins play, but I understand them taking it slow. It's not like Case Keenum's been god-awful. Over the season, he's had a pretty successful year so far, I think, as a whole. He has 7 touchdowns, and I forget if it's 3 interceptions. 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 933 yards. I mean, yeah, it's not terrible, but it's also not great. You'd like to see the kid play, but I understand where they're coming from. Jay Gruden has his job on the line, so I don't know if he wants to go to the rookie quarterback already, and maybe things screw up for him. I don't know. So it is surprising, but I do get the Redskins side of it, of why they want to be careful and take their time with Haskins. There is no rush. They're probably not making the playoffs this year, so I understand taking it slow, but I also understand the other side of it as well. But I do think that people are kind of underestimating Case Keenum and how good he's been this year outside of that first half in the Chicago game. Alright, so this is the last one I'm going to do. Do you think Daniel Jones is getting expectations set way too high? So, yeah, I do think, honestly, I mean, the media was overblowing a lot of stuff. Look, it's one game. It was a great game. Tampa has a pretty bad secondary. They have a good front seven, as I mentioned 100 times, but look, it is one game. I get where people are coming from. There was no actual game tape on him in the NFL. Teams will make adjustments. I mean, I don't know if the Redskins will, but good teams will make adjustments. Like, the Vikings will be a lot better of an opponent. The Patriots, obviously, in New England is going to be a very, very tough test. And I'll be honest with you right now. If he comes out, Daniel Jones, if he comes out and plays well against the Vikings and the Patriots and they win at least one of those games, that's it. I think he's the real deal. I will make an entire apology video to Dave Gettleman about this, and I will say, look, you were right. I was wrong. Picking him 6 made a lot of sense. Now, as I said 100 times as well, I think picking him 6 was a little too high. I wasn't completely against the pick. I wanted Josh Allen just like everybody else. But look, if he comes out and plays well against those elite defenses and the Giants win at least one of those games, and let's say they win this week and then one of those next 2 games, look, he's legit. That's it. There's no more excuses at that point. I understand he's 22 years old. It would only be his 4th start in the NFL at that point. But what else does the guy have to do to prove it to you? He's had a great debut. I think he's going to play well on Sunday. If he plays well against 2 very tough defenses and wins one of those games, then what else does the guy have to prove at that point? That's it. I'm sold at that point. I'm buying a Daniel Jones jersey, and that's it for me. I still have some questions now. I'm very excited about it. I think his ceiling for this offense is a lot higher than what Eli Manning was doing, so Daniel Jones is the best option for this team right now. But look, I'm not sold on Daniel Jones entirely. I don't know if he'll be the quarterback of this team for the next decade. I hope he is. That would definitely not set us back for the next few years, and I hope he's great. And right now it's looking like he's great, but the test comes the next 2 weeks. I mean, he has to get through this week. I think he'll play well, but if he beats the Patriots or the Vikings, I mean, that's it for me. He's legit at that point. So, yeah, expectations right now are a bit too high. He is the franchise quarterback. He was a top 6 pick in the whole draft. So I get where people are coming from there. He's replacing the shoes of a future Hall of Fame, 2-time Super Bowl MVP. So, yeah, it's tough replacing a guy like that. So that's why expectations are so high, especially the location, the New York media, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it does make sense. People are kind of having crazy expectations for the guy, and they have to realize that he's going to have some mistakes this year. There was a dropped interception he had last game, a couple of fumbles as well. So yeah, the guy had some mistakes. He got away with them because when you win games, people forget about that stuff. So winning cures everything. We know that. I talked about that 2 videos ago, how like the whole culture argument. I said, look, if you're winning games, you're gonna have good culture. That's basically it. If you win games, no one cares about the rookie mistakes you make. So that'll be it. Hope you guys enjoyed those questions answered. I didn't get to everybody's question. I mean, I wish I could, obviously, but like I do, I'm still trying to pass college at this point in my life, so I don't have too much free time on my hands. I wish I could answer all these. Like, I wish I did this as like a full-time job, but of course, you don't make a lot of money on YouTube. It's just the way it is. So, yeah, I'm just being honest with you guys. So thanks for asking questions, and I'll talk to you guys Sunday for a Giants review. Hopefully it's a win review. That would be nice for back-to-back. Hopefully we get back to 500. The Eagles won tonight. Surprised me, but they won tonight. That sucks, so the Giants hopefully win that game on Sunday. I'll talk to you guys after that game, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.